views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. You are listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, from our compound to you worldwide, with your host, Gary Anderson.
And what a night it is. I thought we were broadcasting after I found the cat was in the server case. And oh boy, it did more damage than I thought. We're on a backup server right now. We are broadcasting. Anyway, from my compound to the Midwest to the East Coast to worldwide, we got a great show tonight. Get yourself a cup of Java or a scotch or something and a nice comfy chair. Curl up next to the fireplace because we have Kris Embrey right on after this.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Well, Kris, I hope you're still there. And I don't think she is. Oh, wow. We are not doing good here tonight. Okay, let's try get her back on the line. I tell you, interesting night tonight. I can tell you this one thing. I never thought a cat would get into a server case and do what it did. Hey, Kris.
Yes?
We are actually broadcasting. You know what? I had to go to my backup server. I thought we were talking a whole time because everything on my on my computers here says that we were, transmitting out to everywhere, but we weren't. I mean, we were just dead space.
All that stuff. Oh my gosh. Well, oh well.
Well, yeah. And, one of my friends, James, and then Karen out there said, hey, where are you? Where are you? Then I started getting all these text messages from radio stations saying, where's your feed? Where's your feed? I'll tell you, I was sweating bullets this time. Worse than the first time. Because when I actually pulled the server case door open, I found all these wires that a cat chewed through.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. So we're on a backup server. I'm glad in my studio I got duplicate of everything, but I had to start that system up, and thank God people weren't hearing what I was saying off the air. Hopefully.
Oh, no.
Anyway, if you don't mind, I like to start over again right from the start.
Okay, that's fine.
And, hey, it gives you practice, me practice. We have Kris Embrey on, and we're going to be talking about manifestations, but she was in the entertainment industry for a while. She worked for Dave Clark Productions, and I'll let you tell everybody about you, because now they can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Well, yes, my name is Kris Embrey. I am a writer. I also worked back in the entertainment industry again. But prior to that, we had a conversation. You and I were talking about working for Dick Clark, and he's the reason I'm here in Los Angeles now. That's what brought me out to Los Angeles. I worked for one of his restaurants in Overland Park, Kansas.
And that's how you ran into him? Did he come in there or what?
Well, no. What happened was Dick Clark used to own these restaurants called American Bandstand Grill back in the mid-'90s. And one of them, the one I worked at where I was going to college, where I was going to school at in Kansas City, was in Overland Park, Kansas. And he owned one of these restaurants, and I worked for him. And subsequently, I ended up doing an event for him where we incorporated Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. And in the process of all that, Dick was like, "Who is this girl?" I was just this young kid, and I became Employee of the Year that year. And and one of the things that they would do is you would take your picture with him. And I just turned around and looked at him. I was like, I'd rather be out in L.A. working for the production company. And he was like, well, come on, So I came out here, worked for the production company for a while, and what I was sharing with you before was he was an incredible human being. He gave of himself, and pretty much anybody, he would give anybody an opportunity. If he saw something in you, he would actually give you an opportunity to work for the production company. And I was just a runner. I didn't hold a big title over there. I was a runner. I would go to different locations and just run stuff all day long, run things here and there, tapes or whatever I had, wherever I had to do. But it gave me the opportunity to really understand the workings of a production company. And I got to work a lot of the award shows, and I got to do a lot of those types of things and events. But it like anything in life, it runs its course, and I would move on from there and get the typical 9-to-5 job, where I was making a lot more money, but it wasn't feeding my soul. I spent 9 years in a very high-powered position in a very large ad agency here in Los Angeles. I did that for a time, and my soul was slowly dying. And I had this idea for this book in my head when I was running around New York as a kid, and I spent a lot of time there with different people and musicians and things like that, and I was exposed to a lot of different types of people, and so I had all these great stories that I just didn't have a way to package them, and I just kind of forgot about them, and over the years, and one day I was at work, and somebody said, Kris, you should really write a book, because I had all these crazy stories about the entertainment industry and different celebrities and things that they would do, or and stuff like that, and somebody had said to me, a good friend of mine, Robbie, had said to me, Kris, you should really write a book. Your stories are pretty off the wall. And that was it. It was just like one of those things where, I was like, okay, and I filed it away in the back of my mind for another year. And, what ended up happening was my spirit was just dead. It was just dead. It was the thought of going back in and doing a 9-to-5 grind every day was just daunting to me at that point,
And you did that for what, about 9 years, you said?
Yeah, I was working in entertainment, entertainment industry off and on for about 3 years, and then I would go into advertising for about 9, and that's where it literally killed my soul. It was just the high pressure of working in an ad agency at that time, when people did utilize ad agencies, we were one of the top ones and in our field of what we did, and it just tore at me, every day, just the thought of working another 12-hour day, because it wasn't a 9-to-5, it was it was more like 9 to 9, it was literally a 12-hour day, and I just couldn't do it anymore. It burned me out. Over time, it will, if your heart's not into it, over time it will burn you out.
Oh, yeah. I've been there numerous times in broadcasting. So, yeah, and if you're in a job, hey, the money sometimes is good, but if your heart's not into it, it makes it really, hard to want to go to work every day.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I left that job, and I had always thought this thing that Robbie had put in my brain, and I quit without another job. I spent some time, the first month just kind of decompressing, getting all the ick off, And this thing that Robbie kept saying to me, we just kept replaying in my brain over and over and over. And finally one day, I was married at the time, and I told my husband, I said, I think I'm going to write that book. And he just looked at me and was like, okay, here's another harebrained idea, my wife has got, sure, whatever, take 3 months off, do whatever you want. And what ended up happening was I went through a whole transformation. from that experience, I would say and this all happened in 2015. So what would end up happening is, in 2015, my life completely changed. Absolutely changed. I quit a job that was killing me. I took to my computer, and for 3 months, I sat at it, and I literally, the amount of time that I was spending at a job that I hated, I had now focused this. I was sitting in front of my computer, writing this book, this idea that someone had put in my head that I should probably do this. And that's exactly what I would end up doing, and I was so laser focused on it. I don't know where this came from, because I had never thought about writing a book before. I didn't have the obviously the knowledge how to do it. I didn't even know where to begin. I just knew that if I just started putting words on paper, and just kind of maybe go from there, maybe something would happen. And what ended up happening was, I was sitting at my computer, and I had all these stories, all these really fun stories from my time in New York, and I just made up a story to go with these events, about these crazy clubs that were in New York during the late 80s. They had all these really crazy clubs, and so what I did was I figured, well, I can't really write a biography because no one knows who I am, but I could kind of do it in a creative way where I could take these fun stories I had, especially about a club. But what ended up happening was, I was like, well, I've got to have a love story, to kind of support this, because, and literally I was sitting at my computer, and these characters kind of came to my brain, and they became kind of like my life for the next 3 months. And what ended up happening was, I, to not kill the whole story, but the entire book ended up manifesting right after it got published, from cover to cover. And I've done some research on this, and only one other book has manifested in that way. And it was a book called, I believe it was called Wreck of the Titan, or the Titan, or something like that.